we know that we have the oil spill causing problems, and the government's got us going. I've been seeing a lot of talk from agencies like NASA about the sun and how the sun is waking up from its dormant period, an exceptionally long dormant period. How do you think that plays into things here, Griff?
If you go outside and stay in the sun, you'll notice fast that the sun's rays burn your skin. It'll burn in a matter of a minute. Much
stronger, right? Much stronger than it has been. And I mentioned that to my wife. Where I live, it's very it's much hotter than normal, especially now for this time of year.
It's hot all over, everywhere. Right. It's just like that.
And I said, when I went outside, I wasn't hot, but I could feel the radiant heat, the radiation or the radiant heat hit me, and man, that was hot. Almost like you stand in front of a radiant heat heater, and you feel that where your skin may be cool or whatever, but boy, you feel that energy coming at you, and it was just extremely strong. Now I've heard a lot of things from the manipulation of the weather that they've done has caused some serious damage to our atmosphere. I've heard that the magnetic field is collapsing on the planet, and I wanted to know if you had any insight or any knowledge on that particular subject, because it's getting hot.
Sure, I do. You're probably feeling, I would guess, the infrared frequencies coming down in the form of heat. But I don't think it's limited to infrared. I think you're getting a broad spectrum of X-rays and every other frequency that's coming both from the sun and from space. I think the fields around the Earth are weaker than they have ever been. And I wonder, I have no basis other than wondering out loud, if the deployment of the scalar weapons from 1960 on by the Soviets, then the Soviets from 1960, has disrupted the fields around the Earth. I asked the question to a person in that field some time ago whether or not the scalar weapon system could disrupt the sun, and I was told yes, they thought it could. That's how potent these weapon systems are. I would think they would be able to affect the magnetic fields around the Earth, because with scalar, we're not dealing with, the final product is not RF, it's not radio frequency.
Right.
You're using radio frequency. If you think of two modified, huge radar transmitters crossing at a distant point and making that, and manipulating the energy in a vacuum, you make a scalar wave, a so-called scalar wave, with those two interferometer transmitters. It's not an RF wave, it's an entirely different phenomena. You can shoot through the Earth and make it occur on the other side. You can make the energy explode 20 miles below the Earth, or you can take down the Challenger or the Columbia or the Thresher submarine with 127 men. You can take that down with scalar weapons like they did. It wasn't the Morton Thiokol O-ring that went bad on the spacecraft. It was the scalar hit. You can tell by the fingerprints left in the instrumentation around in the area. And that's what you could see on the ships when the Thresher was taken down with the loss of 127 men, I believe. So this has been a very active thing. It's been going on for some time. They were under the control of the KGB, and in more recent years they are now under the control of the FSS, which is the equivalent of the old KGB. The Soviets, back during Nikita Khrushchev's time, pioneered the development of Tesla's death ray scalar weapons. They pioneered it. back many years ago, I was just a young guy, and I was on the night they brought Gary Francis Powers down in the U-2 plane over Russia.
Mm-hmm.
He was flying at an incredible altitude, and we knew the Russians had knowledge that U-2 planes had been going over, photographing people walking on the sidewalk in downtown Moscow, and they couldn't do anything about it. Well, this one night they did, and brought the plane down. Well, he made it down from this ungodly altitude in one piece, and they took him as a prisoner and put him on world press television. And it was quite a spectacle. I remember it like it was yesterday. He flew out of Turkey, I remember a night that it happened. Well, they used a prototype early scalar weapon to bring that U-2 down. It wasn't a rocket. They had no rocket that would go that high with that accuracy. So that was some of the first application. And Nikita Khrushchev in the press talked about their ultimate weapon. It was the ultimate weapon. And
I even heard a story about there was the consulates for the United States, and then you had it wasn't far off from the Russian government building or whatever, and I heard about the earliest some of the earliest testing on humans as far as what it would do. Is they had a little a small portable ray or antenna that they pointed towards the U.S. Embassy, and not soon after that they were talking about a rash of depression. There was a couple of suicides that went down. So these scalar weapons also affect you mentally, don't they?
Yes, you can actually inject thoughts and behavior into the minds of the people. You can do it on the battlefield and cause the soldiers to panic inside of their heads with the radiated energy. There are a lot of different applications. There's some good applications in medicine. You can cure diseases that cannot be cured now with the application of the scalar concepts. There's many good applications for it, but they're not being used because doctors won't go there. They're interested in staying within their medical models, and their pay is adequate, and they don't want to go outside of their little physician area that they live in. There's some miraculous cures that could be done with it. The weapon is awesome. It is the ultimate weapon.
So let me ask you this.
I'm sure they took the Challenger down. I'm sure they took the Columbia down with the scalar.
Well, if the goal then, I guess, is to eradicate all the eaters, if you will, then why don't they just employ this on a massive scale and just do away with them?
Not one country has acknowledged ever having the ultimate weapon. You see, when one country acknowledges it and makes it public and demonstrates the use of it, then all 10 countries can annihilate one another.
Right.
It wouldn't... Israel has the scalar weapon. I don't think Iran has the scalar weapon. But as soon as Israel hits them with that...
Group to get it.
Do what?
I said we sure don't want the Bilderberg group to get it, then we'd all be in trouble. If it gets into the hands of those kind of people...
Well, it is. It's there already.
It is, yeah.
I understand what you're saying, but much like nuclear deterrence, where you launch a salvo, well, they're going to launch a salvo back at you, and it's a no-win situation. I can see what you're saying as far as the scalar technology, whereas here goes one country that does what it has to do, and it annihilates one. Well, now these other guys are saying, "Oh no, you're not going to get us next. So we're going to get you before you get us." And I can see where you're going with that, and I understand that. That's understandable. Now, one thing. Oh, go ahead.
In all of these stories, don't look for logic or common sense. Sometimes it's not there. It used to be there, but it's not there anymore. So don't think that that's intertwined into all of this. It's not.
That's hard. Well, now, funny thing that I was watching down on in the Gulf, and they were actually using chemtrail planes to spray this dispersant. And it made me think about this because I was reading the scalar technology, all this stuff that that to come